There we are. Too much glare, couldn't see it. Even got the glasses that change the shades on. Welcome to Topical Tuesday, September 11th, 2018. Just saying that date. Tells you it's really the only topic on my mind today. And hopefully you're taking a day wherever you are in the world. I know it was a New York City and a USA event, but it was also a world event. The planes being hijacked and used as guided missiles. It was right around this time, about 8:45 in the morning, I remember, Eastern time, that the first plane hit, and it was like 15-20 minutes later the second one hit, and that's when we know all hell was breaking loose. At the time, I'm sure you remember where you were. I was working as a trader on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, the CBOE in Chicago, so it was an hour earlier our time. We were waiting for the open. We were getting ready and prepared. It was about 45 minutes away, and suddenly news travels. I mean, news has a lot to do. Hey, Tom Beal, great seeing you, man. News has a lot to do with being a trader, because world events, current events can do a lot to move the markets, to get people buying and selling certain stocks. So everyone's always glued to the news, and it was like, hey, plane crashed into the World Trade Center, and all we could think about was the news. I wasn't around, but back when a plane crashed into the Empire State Building, like, I don't know, 70 years before or something. And so we're watching on TV, and we're like, come on now, how can that happen? What a terrible pilot to crash into the Empire State Building. Into the World Trade Center, how irresponsible, and what the heck, and blah, blah, blah. And then, holy moly, 15 minutes or so later, another plane suddenly comes out of nowhere and crashes into the other tower, and it was time to evacuate the building. We're up on the 20-something floor, and nothing personal, but everyone in Chicago was like, hey, maybe Chicago is next. They're taking down the financial center of the country, the World Trade Center. Now they're coming after Chicago. I'm like, nothing personal, folks, but, no one's coming after Chicago. Okay, New York, that's it. It's New York and Washington, D.C. Chicago, have a nice day. But anyway, it was obviously tremendous panic and tremendous sorrow, because working as a trader, I was in contact every day, all day, with brokers and traders on the floor in New York and in the World Trade Center, in the firms, brokering the trades. I knew people. Everyone I knew people, had family that were there. And I remember for a few days, we were still looking for bodies and wondering if they'd find something. And, there was all kinds of distress and just emotions just going crazy. And if you did watch the news, you just saw that, the crash. The buildings came down like an hour or two later, and I was back in my apartment by then, watching on TV. That was horrifying. And then for days, for about for the rest of the week, the exchanges were closed. And we were like, the traders were like, we don't know what to do ourselves during the day, not be trading the market. And so I remember going to play golf one day, and it was so eerie. We were playing on a golf course, and there were no planes going overhead. Usually there were planes going overhead at this course all the time, and the airports were closed. I don't know if you remember, for days. And it was just not a great time. So we remember all of those. Not only those victims, direct victims of the attacks, but how about those first responders? It still amazes me to this day. Oh, someone's here. Gonna come into the shade. Tom Beal, right. Tom Beal, let's talk about a first responder. Tom Beal, one of our nation's finest Marines. Ooh-rah, my friend. We're just about to record a live video on the same topic. Oh, so don't do what I do. I'm sure yours will be a lot better. But yeah, because, I'm on the West Coast time. but I watch the clock on 9/11 for that time of day wherever I am. So I know those of you on the East Coast are going to. You know, that was 3 hours ago. Right on, Tom. And, man, so how about those first responders, like Tom, like our Marines, like our medics, police, fire? I mean, these people, I just, you know, they go into the trouble. Nowadays, when everyone has a camera on them at all times, as soon as one of these shootings occurs, you see them filming the video. I don't see the person filming the video running in to catch the guy or stop the guy or see what's going on. Unfortunately, we even see some cops not running in, like in this Florida shooting, and it's certainly in Vegas. They're like waiting and standing outside, and I don't blame them. I would do the same thing, but I hope I wouldn't do the same thing if I was an officer. If I had sworn to protect others and to give my all and to sacrifice, which I hesitate even saying those words. It's just such amazing that people do that. And so these firemen, that while people were running down the stairwell and they were running up, you kidding me? With, you know, whatever 100 pounds of gear they have on their back, but they're running up. And then that building, both of them, they just came crashing down. So come on now. So I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you stop and you take time. If not every day, at least today. Come on now. Once a year, to remember those, our heroes. Our heroes. You know, I see this nonsense in the news like, oh, you know, I understand, believe me, I understand. I'm not black, but I have plenty of black friends that I know very well their stories and their situations of, you know, getting stopped for driving while black. You know, they drive in a nice car in a nice community, and suddenly, what are you doing here? And what the hell, blah, 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 and all this. Okay, and then there's all, you know, always going to hit the news when the cops shoot an unarmed man, especially if it's a white cop shooting a black kid unarmed. However, for the most part, really, so I see these things coming on the news like, oh, we're not serving the cops at our donut shop anymore, or they're not welcome in our restaurant. Yeah, sure, that's legal. Of course, you reserve the right to refuse service to anybody, sure. But if somebody actually walks in there and starts robbing you or threatening you at gunpoint, you gonna not allow the cops to come in? Give me a break. So, geez, that's like saying I'm not rooting for my favorite team because once in a while the guy throws an interception. You know, the guy made a dumb mistake. Therefore, I'm never rooting for my team again. Like, come on now. So yeah, there are some bad cops. And there are some cops that make mistakes. And there are some troops that make mistakes. And there's friendly fire that hits somebody and all that kind of stuff. But are you out of your mind with the infinitesimal percentage that is? Our first responders are heroes. Anyway, you know, my beautiful wife Michelle and I, we visit New York once in a while. When I was visiting my mom, she passed away about 3.5 years ago, but we used to go all the time to see my mom, and we would always stay in the city. And we, you know, I love taking my beautiful wife Michelle around on a tour of the city. And when that memorial was done, we of course made a beeline for the Freedom Tower and that World Trade Center Memorial, which is takes everything out of you, or me, it did, to be there and to see it. It's on the same location as one of the buildings, one of the towers, and the same size, so you see the outline of a building, only instead of going up, it's going down. And then last time we were there, it was under construction, but I know it's done now, is the 9/11 Memorial Museum. So got to get a chance to go there too, because you know, being from New York, and I remember when those World Trade Center was built, and that was going up in the early 70s. I think it was done in like 71. Changed the whole skyline of New York. Really poignant when you see some old movies from the 80s and 90s, and you see the World Trade Center up there. Like, how can one of the world's tallest buildings just be gone? There's no other world's tallest buildings anywhere in the world, I don't think, that are just gone. So I hope you remember today and you take the time to honor those that died and those that willingly, amazingly willingly died on that day. And to think about that they do it all again. So the next time, sure, I see, I'm no fan of the police, by the way. I'm not a fan of like being stopped, of a cop hiding behind a billboard and pulling me over, give me a ticket or give me a trouble for going 5 miles over or this or that. Or yesterday, I was in Sacramento at the airport. I'm getting picked up by the Lyft driver, and he told me later he's on the second day. And I'm over at the rideshare app pickup stand. He pulls over about 50 feet away in front of the terminal, gives me a call, where are you? I see him over there. I'm like, hang on, I'll walk over. It ends up I didn't do him any favors walking over, because as I'm getting in the car, a cop comes over and says, roll down your window, I'm giving you a ticket now. You can't pick him up here. You have to pick him up there, 50 feet away. And he goes, really? Because I picked someone up here yesterday. And I just thought, and I'm like, holy crap, how little do these drivers make on a ride? And now they got to get a $50, $100 ticket from a Yahoo, security guy at an airport. Like, that was awful. And thankfully I talked to her, and, she gave me the okay and said, don't do it again. If you leave right now, it's just a warning. I'm like, thank goodness, come on now. So, and all that kind of heightened awareness around airports started at 9/11 too. But I mean, I forget what I was telling that story. But anyway, so I got to get some work done here, and I'm sure you do too. But maybe you can tell it still shakes me to the core thinking about that day and the friends that I lost and the friends and family of my friends and family that were lost from New York, if you don't know. And so it was especially, and I was working in the financial industry at the time, especially rough personal time for me. But as we get further away from things, we tend to forget things, right? So you see all these people nowadays calling everyone Hitler or Nazi or whatever. Like, get a clue. If it was 70 years ago and it was the 1940s, you would not be calling anyone a Hitler or a Nazi unless they killed 12 million people. Okay, saying some bad words does not make you a Hitler or a Nazi. So people seem to forget what Hitler did in World War II, ravaging Europe, killing his own citizens, in ghastly ways. Come on. So same thing with 9/11. Now it's been 17 years. There are kids that are about to graduate high school, go to college, that weren't even born. And if they were only 3 or 4 years old, they're graduating college, they don't even remember the thing. You got to always remember this stuff, folks, and you got to always honor those and think about today. Because that's what I was saying, they do it again. They would do it again. And they do it all the time. You see it on TV. Once in a while you see the cowardly cops that don't go in. Oh, I know I was telling that story because I'm not a fan of the cops when they overreach and act like they're above the law, and they put their lights on just to drive over the speed limit and go through lights because they want to get home on time for dinner. Like, I'm not a big fan of government controlling people, which includes, of course, cops. However, I'm certainly not anti-cops like we had in this country for 8 years, and now we still have the remnant of it with this kneeling crap and the whole Antifa and all this crap going on. Jeez, what the heck? So hopefully you're not part of that. You don't have to be pro-cops. I'm not. But I'm certainly not anti-cops. Anyway, I always see a whole bunch more people here. Good seeing you. Anyway, that's about it. And that'll do it for Topical Tuesday. And got to get my mind back in gear, which I will. That's what entrepreneurs do. We go through ups and downs. We compartmentalize it. We get back to work. As tough as it is on today, I got a big day. Got a lot of things done. Got a new project from a client yesterday, the one I flew up to Sacramento to see, and keynoting an event speaking at on Thursday. Got to finish the prep for that, and I got my own event with my clients on Friday and Saturday up in Chicago. So let's get back and get some work done. All right, folks. Thanks everyone being here live. Thanks for watching on the replay. And thanks for never forgetting, always remembering September 11th. I'll be back tomorrow, Wisdom Wednesday. Over and out. Bye-bye.